of the Gridcoin team, effectively. So I'll tell you about Gridcoin. I spoke about it last year, so some of you probably know a bit about it, but I'll give some of the details about it. So Gridcoin is a proof-of-stake cryptocurrency. It was originally proof of work, which meant you had to solve calculations in order to create like a block to get your reward, right? No longer the case. It's based on like proof of stake, which is if you've got balance, you're able to create a block based on the amount of coins you have. The more coins you have, the more frequent you can stake. It doesn't mean you have to, it's only reserved for people who have Gridcoin. You can go through like pools, which is like, means you don't need to invest in order to be able to create a block and get rewards. You don't even have to run a Gridcoin client. You could use a pool from BOINC and send it directly to exchange if you're so inclined, you know. In terms of like reward BOINC computation, only Team Gridcoin at the moment is eligible for rewards. It's a really old rule that's taken a while to get rid of, you know, we're getting there. And currently only whitelisted BOINC projects are eligible for rewards. This is due to, we don't want to push people towards projects that are not really applicable, you know, don't want people to go into a malicious project perhaps, or a project that is not in a production state, or one that's just a test project. So there's like minimum like requirements we have. We'll get to that. Next, so the whitelisting process. So it isn't like a set in stone. There is very limited minimum requirements. It kind of boils down to, do you have enough work for us to sustain us over several years? Do you have basic anti-cheating mechanisms? You know, if you've just got a bare bones BOINC implementation, then it could be open to abuse. You have to think about if you're going to be sending it out to multiple users and having that kind of verified over each other, as well as potential, you know, benchmarks cheats. These are things we talk to BOINC projects about now, if they're coming into the whitelisting process. Yeah, and also we need daily user XML dumps, which is basically everyone on the BOINC project, how much they've been doing work-wise, and currently we only use that for Team Gridcoin, but eventually that will be removed and it will include everyone that's interested. And the HTTPS is not a hard rule. In fact, we voted on it and we said no, HTTP is okay, you know, but ideally, come on guys, you know, HTTPS is the way forward. So once you kind of looked at a bit of the minimum requirements, reach out to a Gridcoin community member or, you know, administrator if you need some in-depth communication back and forth, getting it in a good state. Once you're confident that you can go forwards with getting your project whitelisted, you need to create a Gridcoin poll, right? Which is effectively all of our users will vote on whether or not to add the project based on their balance and also the amount of computation they do in BOINC, you know. Currently, we give more, vote weight to balance just because it only takes 30 days to build up your recent average credit. The coins represent a much larger period of time, you know. Yeah, so if it passes the poll, it can be whitelisted within like the hour, depending on our availability. It's still kind of centralized the control over the whitelist. That's a feature to do, is to make it a lot more decentralized. Not reliant on, you know, humans for the whitelisting process at the very least. In terms of how long can you stay on the whitelist, if you can sustain the minimum requirements, then it will stay on forever as long as your project is there, unless, you know, it gets voted out. Or if you run out of work, or if you have a long period of downtime, it will go into like a kind of grey list state where users don't earn more kind of rewards. It kind of gets put in a frozen state. And if it's offline for like a couple months, then it'll get removed entirely from the whitelist. You have to start from scratch, but it's not that big of a deal getting onto the whitelist in the first place. So yeah, just a bit of like some updates about Gridcoin last year. We've about tripled in users, our rack a day, and our computing power. You can see in January we hit this peak where we hit like 20 cents, and Bitcoin was like $20,000. It was crazy, and then like, you know, crypto crash, it was like, whoosh, you know, down. You can even see it like here. It kind of tapered off a little bit. But even despite the fact that Gridcoin was worth a tenth of the value it was in December, we are still 3 times across the board in growth, 300%, which is pretty awesome. You know.
What's the latest fall in the lower graph?
I'm not sure. I just grabbed this off of Steemit, so it could be related to.
Probably because Untitled was very listed.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Potentially, you know. Yeah, world could be good. You've got to get back on the waitlist, totally. Yeah. So, yeah. move past this, right? So just another some more bragging of Team Gridcoin. We represent more than 50% of the total average recent credit. In maybe like 6 years' time, we will overtake the total credit, including ASICs, without ASICs. And yeah, we've won the last 2 years of Formula BOINC, but there's enough bragging about teams and stuff like that. You know, what's the future of Gridcoin? So Gridcoin developers are actively working on rebasing Gridcoin to use a more up-to-date version of the Bitcoin Core code base. A lot of the altcoins are based, like, that are proof of stake, are based on like Purecoin, which is like a very old version of Bitcoin. And a lot of these altcoins have not updated at all, you know. So with this new uplifted code base, we will be experiencing like last few years of Bitcoin improvements, you know, without the research costs to a degree, just the developer costs and stuff. Yeah, removal of the team requirements. This is something a lot of us support the idea of. Everyone should be eligible for rewards. It's a matter of scaling the Gridcoin client, as well as not having, you know, tens of thousands of users downloading the XML dumps, because those are huge, right? For some projects, SETI at least, you know. So if we're wanting to reduce the amount of users downloading these files whilst improving our own scalability, so that instead of just tracking, you know, a few thousand people, we can track the rewards of, you know, hundreds of thousands of people potentially. This is a long kind of term thing we're looking at. In terms of how we're going to go about doing this, one of the things is improving the proof of BOINC account ownership. So currently we go by CPID, which is it's not permanent. It can change if you change your email address or if you get hacked and stuff like that. It's not brilliant. So I've created a pull request, 2134, that uses OpenSSL public key cryptography to prove that you own an account. It doesn't store any data, additional data, on the BOINC servers, which past proposals we're heavily reliant on. Those are still up on GitHub if you're interested in adding new fields and stuff, but it's not for this. I've worked on a bit of data serialization for, you know, the XML dumps. Instead of it being like 300 megabytes for SETI, I've managed to get it down to like 5-10 megabytes, which is pretty awesome. Less if we remove the CPID. So that's not only could we work on scaling our side, we could maybe if it's just simple, you know, Python script to run in the BOINC server to reduce the size of the, you know, 300 megs to like a few megs. There's beneficial scaling on both sides potentially. Yeah, and finally, the manual reward claims idea. So this was kind of voted on, like, if you've ever used Steemit, right, it's kind of like Reddit, you get paid for posting, right? There's on the wallet page where you're getting your rewards, you can just hit claim my rewards, nothing else to it, you don't have to invest or anything. So that's the ideal thing we want to kind of do further down the line. So rather than having to use a pool if you don't have any funds, or having to invest in order to stake a block to get rewards on top, which can be a long time, we hopefully will be able to just have a button where you go click, claim my rewards, plus the removal of team requirement stuff, so getting Gridcoin out into people's hands, breaking down these barriers of entry, effectively. So yeah, where you can find out more about Gridcoin, mainly our website, gridcoin.us. We're heavily active on Steemit, Reddit, and on Telegram. You know, and we're also on Slack and stuff, but it's difficult to get invite links and stuff. So does anyone have any questions about Gridcoin? Go for it.
Could you explain the CBR?
CBR. Oh, right, yeah. So, yeah, this is for proof of stake, right? If you're an investor, you get like 1.5% kind of APR over the year, right? But it doesn't encourage you to continuously stake blocks. So you could wait like a month and then stake once and get your full reward for that month, right? So that's not good for network security. We want everyone trying to participate in creating the next sequence in the blockchain, right? So the constant block reward effectively, it punishes you for only staking once a month. So instead of staking once, you're going to continuously try and stake. That way, we hope to increase network difficulty whilst researching how to make it easier to claim your rewards without degrading your network security. I mean, last year we had quite serious issues with security which were pointed out, which we've solved, you know, and it's at the forefront of our mind that security first. So it is maybe not brilliant for big whales that they have to be constantly staking, but I mean, if you're a millionaire or something, you can afford a $5 EPS a month. Anyone else? Go for it, Clarence.
So, with the opening it up to not just Team Gridcoin, I guess, does that potentially mean that a lot of BOINC users, some that don't even know what Gridcoin is, would have Gridcoin essentially?
No, you'd have to, like say if we were to get the new proof of account ownership going, then you would need to go through those steps to link your account to the external system. So you wouldn't just be accumulating, and then be able to hit claim reward.
Okay.
It would be establish the proof that you are this person, and then
does your work actually contribute to getting Gridcoin?
It's split up amongst all the projects. We got a pool of rewards which is split evenly between all projects, and it's up to you to currently stake to gain your rewards, and so the manual reward claim is going to require some change to the economic system. I mean, the constant block reward is already a positive change in the economic system. We need further research in the manual reward claim, how that's going to affect everything. The distribution of the tokens effectively and how long you've been owed them for, kind of thing.
Instead of CPID, you said you might use a cryptographic?
So rather than use CPID, right, which is just a string that's randomly assigned and which can change, we would propose to use the user ID instead, which is just an integer, which never changes even if you change everything else about your account. You need to have a project admin change the number for it to change, right? So you would get the proof of the account ownership, which is just an XML file with one of the lines being a chunk of just a bit of code for OpenSSL to basically check whether or not the project actually created that string. And by having that proof, you can advertise who you are on the network. And ideally, that would be just a permanent thing. Because right now, when you advertise your proof of ownership, that's only for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, there's a small opportunity window to steal someone's beacon, which isn't a big deal for someone that's quite small, but for Charity Engine, which is number 1 and 2, that could be bad. But I mean, we're actively looking into these things, and it's very, very. Any last questions?
What about the adoption? How, do you want people in the end to just exchange it for?
I mean,
money,
I don't really mind. I mean, people can do it what they want with Gridcoin pools. That's already the case. People can skip having a client entirely and just send it directly to an exchange and switch it for Bitcoin. If someone sells it immediately, then that's providing liquidity, even if it's in a downward direction. And it's only offsetting computation electricity bills partially at the moment. It would have to be, back to December and higher prices for it to be okay, this is a profitable kind of opportunity. But hopefully when things with kind of ranting at the moment, final thing, when Ethereum switches to proof of stake, we see hundreds of GPU farms hopefully looking elsewhere, and BOINC could be one of their homes.
No, I mean, what are you doing with Gridcoin?
What are we doing with Gridcoin? Well, I mean, we did lose some services and stuff.
People who have Gridcoin, what do they do with it today?
You can sell it. You can use it in some places. It's like Bitcoin, except it's got less of the services. Because it's on this older code base, we've been unable to link up with the most recent kind of Bitcoin developments. All the new libraries and stuff are using version 12 plus of Bitcoin. We're back at version technically 0.9 or something like that, right? Which means we're incompatible. So BitPay or whatever, these big companies would have a serious difficult time integrating us into their current system. But when we uplift ourselves, more people would be okay, it's only a matter of changing a couple lines, and everything that's for Bitcoin is now for Gridcoin,
Maybe I can answer a bit of this question, because in the Bitcoin community we also have people collecting Gridcoins, and they are the two cases. One is that they convert those Gridcoins to Bitcoins and then use it as a bad day investment. So when the Bitcoin is worth a lot, they transfer it to your money, and the others are basically turning the Gridcoins into Bitcoins and immediately into euros, so that they can pay their bill. And then they see on a monthly basis my 10 PCs I have at home that are collecting Gridcoins. I use this much electricity for them, and then I got this much Gridcoins or money back. And they are then reporting, well, this was a good month, because Bitcoin cost was good. So I got all my electricity paid by Gridcoins.
That's pretty decent. Yeah. Ideally, that would be the case for more people, you know. Cool. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay.